Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday, and that means the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, with us. And Don, no way to sugarcoat yesterday's defeat. That was very, very heartbreaking. A game that Maryland dominated for the most part with their perimeter play, but Indiana made a great rally at the end of the game. Not only got back in the game, but took the lead, had a late lead, and kind of had, I won't say had the game in hand, because there's no such thing as having a game in hand unless you're up 15 after seeing Houston be down 6 with 10 seconds to play at Kansas and managed to get out of there with a win. But man, it was just the fashion in which that game unfolded at the end, with having a foul to give before the three-pointer gets off. And then, of course, the issues with getting their own shot off at the end and the personnel and all of that. But kind of a very, very disappointing game for Hoosier fans and for the Hoosiers overall yesterday.
There's no question about it, Jim. The frustration has well boiled over at this point for the fan base, no question. And I think for the team as well. I think the struggle right now with this basketball team is right now the mindset. Making the right plays. That's always going to be a question mark for ball clubs, especially at the end of ball games or the game is on the line. Those kinds of things can happen. Mistakes can be made. But this ball club consistently has played inconsistently this year. And so it's not a surprise that this ball club couldn't find a way to get it done yesterday at the end. And to make the kinds of mistakes that they made. They got a foul to give there. They don't give it, and Rice knocks down, and then we're talking about Rodney Rice for Maryland, knocks down a 3 that gives them the lead. Now you're down, and you have an opportunity here at the end to get a shot off. You get a shot off, but it's absolutely too late, too little too late. And there was also mistakes made on that play. Guys weren't where they're supposed to be. So right now, the biggest fight that this team is having is their own mentality, in my opinion. And the struggles that they're going to continue to have if they don't get that changed are going to be monumental, because they have 4 very tough ball games coming up here, 3 of which are on the road. And if it doesn't change in that segment of the season, things are going to get bad for this Indiana ball club.
Yeah, up north next, of course, a trip at Purdue, who is playing very, very well, period. And then you add into the fact that's one of the absolute toughest places to play. That does not help things. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. There seems to, I don't want to say infighting, but even on the court, I see a lot of guys kind of not arguing necessarily, but confused as to you're supposed to be here, and it's a little finger pointing, and so that kind of goes to what you're saying. It just didn't seem to be a grasp on everything at the end, getting the players in late that were on the bench. It's kind of hard to understand, to be honest with you.
Well, exactly, because at this point in the season, yeah, you had 6 new faces on this ball club that came in, and you've played 20 ball games, and at this point in the season, you can't have that kind of confusion or that kind of discontent, so to speak. I don't know if it's discontent or not. These guys seem to like each other and seem to get along, but they're not all on the same page from a mental standpoint, in my opinion. The ups and downs of a season, everybody goes through those. But you've got to be able to overcome a lot of the things that happen on the floor with the right mindset. And I've questioned that aspect of it all season long, because we see guys come out and not have the same energy level as the opponent, not have the same effort level as the opponent. And that goes from one half to the next half. And you know, you see them play hard at one point, and then they're not playing hard at another point. And the frustration I feel for this basketball team right now is the fact that they are not all on the same page mentally, more so than physically.
Yeah, and the fact that there's still all these questions about who's supposed to be where at this stage of the season,
Right,
is a little bewildering. It's especially for those that have been in the system for a long time. You understand that there are new faces, but even with that, this late in the season, there shouldn't be so much confusion going on, and that still seems to be the case. And then Indiana had a different lineup for the most part yesterday. They didn't start Luke Goody, bring him off the bench, but because of foul trouble, he kept heading to the bench, so they couldn't leave him in for stretches, which hurt, because he's a major part of their game. Only gets off three-point attempts in the entire game yesterday. He was 2 of 5 from the field. Both of those came on 3-point attempts where he hit 2 of 3, but he was just not able to get enough. Maryland destroyed it from the 3-point line. They hit over 50. They hit 50% for the game, 12 of 24, and that was ultimately the deciding factor.
no question. It's frustrating. There's no question about it. Everybody's frustrated. The fans are frustrated. Coaches are frustrated. The players are frustrated. When you're off and you've lost 4 of your last 5 ball games, there's going to be frustration that sets in. The question is, can you overcome it? Can you turn things around? And now you've got the toughest part of your schedule about to take place. I think you've got more than just 4 games. You've got 6 games in a row here that are going to be really, really challenging. And some of those are at home. Some of those are on the road. It doesn't matter where the game's being played at this juncture. It's how you approach it from a mental standpoint. As Bob Knight once said, the mental is the physical is 4:1. And there is no doubt about that. Right now, the mental right now for Indiana is probably on the low side in any case, as you look at it. I think they always try to put on a good front when they go into press conferences and those kinds of things. But behind the scenes, there is a lot of frustration on this basketball team.
No question. And they head to a place, like I said, your arch rival. But not only that, more importantly, a team that is playing really, really well, a team that is that has a ton of experience on it. Virtually all of their players have been in that system, all their major players for years. And Matt Painter does an incredible job. You've got probably the best point guard in the Big Ten in Braden Smith leading that charge. And that's going to be a huge challenge for Indiana, because they have a great mix. Purdue has a good mix of perimeter play and going inside. Trey Kaufman-Renn, I've got to say, he's done a lot better job than I thought that he was going to be able to do, replacing Zach Edey. Not really replacing Zach Edey, but in lieu of having him, they've made it work.
Oh, there's no question. The Boilermakers are a really well-coached basketball team. Matt Painter has made that program into one of the best in the country, not just in the Big Ten. It's one of the best in the country. And for an Indiana team to go in there, you're going to have to have the right mindset, and you're not going to be able to just go in there and think that if you don't come up and if you go into that contest thinking that you've got no chance, you've got no chance. And you've got to be able to play well together. You've got to be able to execute the game plan. And you're going to have to play better than Purdue if you're going to beat them in Mackey Arena. We all know that. It's happened before. Mike Woodson took a team in there a couple of years ago with Trace Jackson Davis and beat them in West Lafayette. So it can be done. But Indiana has not played the kind of basketball this year that would give you an indication that they have a chance in this ball game unless they come in with a completely different mindset. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I'm not a coach. The players on this basketball team are the only ones that can make the decision that they're going to go in there with the right mindset and they're going to give it their best effort. And hopefully that will happen on Friday.
Yeah, and it's not like it can't happen because I know that from what we've seen, it's not likely. But if you would have told me I'll give you Illinois and 15 points against Maryland at home, I would have said, okay, I'll take all you got. And yet that didn't happen. And the Illini lost that game huge at home, which is a shocker to that Maryland team. It's like Indiana beats a team, and then the next thing they know, that their opponent goes and does something crazy, like USC did the same thing. It's nuts to see that, but it can be done. It's Big Ten conference season is crazy, and crazy things happen.
Well, here's another example of how things can turn around. Look at Minnesota. Look at Minnesota, what Minnesota has done here in recent weeks. They have completely turned their season around. They become a factor against everybody that they've played. And we've seen it go the other way, too. Penn State this year has struggled pretty much ever since Indiana played them and beat them in Philadelphia. So we know it can happen. It can turn. But it's going to have to turn quickly, and the mindset is going to have to be totally different than what we've seen here over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, you've got your next game coming up at Purdue, Don. So what this week? What has to happen before that game comes to be?
Well, that's up to the coaching staff and the players. Their mindset are the most important here because they're the guys that are going to go out there on the floor and play the game. There's nothing that I can say or nothing that I can do that's going to factor into this whole thing. All I can tell you is we have to have a change in the thinking process. There's got to be some kind of a change dictated by the players, by the coaches, to get this thing turned around and to get their minds right. And look, like I said before, there are examples this year of teams that have done that already. And if you go out and play your best, give it your all, and that's a rah-rah thing we're talking about now. But my point is, it can change if they have the right mindset. And that's what's got to take place here because you've got a week to get ready for Purdue. I mean, you essentially have 5 days to get ready for this basketball game because they don't have another ball game this week leading up to it. So the practices this week are going to have to be very, very, very good.
Yeah, and a few positive things. You've seen the reemergence of Mackenzie Mbako, who has back-to-back been leading scorer for the team, 20 points in the previous game, tied 16 with Miles Rice in this game. And speaking of Miles Rice, what a three-point effort at the end, 3 of 5, but all 3 of those come in the later stages of the game and kind of fueled that rally by Indiana.
Right.
He has not been a big-time three-point shooter this year, although he has probably been one of the more consistent players along with Ballo for this team. But man, he came up huge yesterday and was a big part for Indiana even having a shot.
Right. And like we've talked earlier, the mistakes that were made in this ball game were critical ones at the most inopportune times. And if you could avoid those kinds of things and hang in with whoever you're playing against and make the right decisions and do the right things at the end of a ball game, you can get things turned around here. Right now, however, it doesn't feel, we're all feeling the frustration of what's happened here in the last 4 out of 5 ball games. And to get this thing turned, it's got to be a mental thing, I think, more than anything else. You're right. Anthony Leo yesterday I thought he did a lot of really good things in that ball game again.
He made some crazy good plays.
Yeah, I mean, he did an excellent job in that regard. Obviously, getting McKenzie going again, that's big time, no doubt about that. Miles made some really good plays in the second half of the ball game, and then really kind of a bonehead play at the end because he didn't follow the instructions, so to speak, in that last play of the game. But anyway, long story short, this is a basketball team that needs to have a resurgence here, and it needs to start this Friday night.
No doubt about that. Congratulations for Sportscaster of the Year again by the NSMA for your, 111th time, it seems like.
Yeah, right. No, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know why you bring that up. It's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks since they announced that. Why are you bringing it up now?
Because I kept forgetting and I felt horrible. And I'm like, God, I keep forgetting. So I had to write it down and highlight it today to make sure I mentioned it because I kept forgetting. And I apologize. Because
not a problem. Not a problem.
Honor.
Do not apologize.
That like the 38th?
No. From that particular organization, that's 28, and I've got 4.
I'm sorry. It's only 28.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. So big.
He's the great one. We appreciate you, sir. Coach's show, all that.
Yep. Tonight, Inside IU Basketball with Mike Woodson, 7:05 at Hoosier Hanks. It's been a while.
There you go. There you can catch Don in person. Appreciate you, my friend. Have a great rest of your day and week.
You too. See you.
Don Fischer joining us here on the program. We've got more coming up. Back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.